Ladies, gentlemen, and tarnished of all ages, there are tons of new items all around us in Shadow of the Erdtree, and while there are a lot of flashy weapons or fashionable armor sets around, the unsung heroes of items are talismans. They come with lots of different bonuses that can boost different builds by an immense amount, honestly, and outside of your weapon and your stats, they are pretty much the thing that will make the most actual impact on how much damage you do, and oftentimes also how much damage you actually take, and just the full comfort factor of your build as well. There are a fair number of new talismans in Shadow of the Erdtree, but today we are going to talk about specifically 5 of the best ones that either apply to a variety of builds in a very good way, or are just so powerful within their own niche that they are sort of impossible to ignore. First up then, probably the weakest of the 5, but also one that has an impact on a large variety of builds, the two-headed turtle talisman. This is a new upgraded turtle talisman, boosting stamina regeneration by an enhanced amount, and the specific bonus of this one seems to be around a 25% increase in stamina regen per second while you have it equipped. And while that may not sound like a crazy amount, it can definitely make a very large difference in any particularly stamina heavy builds as a utility piece. To get this one for yourself then, you want to head to the waterfall right here on your map. Once you get there, you'll realize the waterfall is a trick. It's an illusion, and you can walk right through it to find this little chamber in the back with some lovely little dogs around it, so beside which you will find this talisman laying on the ground. Second today, we have the two-handed sword talisman, and this thing is honestly nuts and will just be used in a ton of builds the second that you find it. What it does then, very simply, is increase the damage of any weapon attacks that are done by two-handed weapons by 15%, which is a solid modifier for a talisman and gives you a new way of boosting general weapon attacks. This applies to light attacks and heavy attacks and all of their context variants, but it does not apply to Ashes of War, even if the Ash of War hits with the weapon while you have it two-handed, because technically speaking, an Ash of War is never done two-handed as far as the talisman is concerned. I should also mention that it seems that paired weapons don't work for this either, as in the weapons that just produce a second version of itself in your offhand when you two-hand it, despite the technicalities of that being two-handed. That said, two-handed large weapons is an extremely common build style in the game, and this buffs the majority of what they do. To get this for yourself then, it is in the Temple Town Ruins area. The closest grace is, you guessed it, Temple Town Ruins. From here you need to find a bit of a hidden entrance to the ruins, climb up the side inside, and then head to the end of the path to find the chest that is hidden behind a horned warrior enemy. For clarity's sake though, I will just let this play out and be back with you in just a moment. Third, then, we have the Crimson Seed Talisman +1. This is again an upgraded version of a base game talisman. The base game version increased your Crimson Flask healing by around 20%. This upgraded one increases it instead by 30%. And you may be a bit skeptical about how good this actually is, but trust me, get it, put it on, and see the difference for yourself. It turns a lot of boss hits from taking 2 flasks to heal up from just into using only 1, which not only decreases your downtime in the fight, but also just makes your flask last for longer, making you able to do longer fights and take more damage overall, letting you take more hits and make more mistakes before you run out. And well, obviously, in an ideal world where there would be no mistakes, you would never get hit, but things happen. None of us are perfect, and this talisman is perfect for when you aren't. To get it for yourself, then, you need to do the first step of the sorcery questline for the DLC, essentially, and to do that, you need to head to the Cathedral of Manus Mater, located in the northeast section of Scadutree. If you don't know how to get to this side of the map, we have a full video on this channel that shows in detail how to unlock every area of the map without killing a single remembrance boss along the way, nice and easy. That said, within this church, all you have to do is talk to Ymir, who will request that you find the Finger Runes and use his hole-laden necklace to make some crazy music. So you want to head to the Finger Runes of Rhea, down here on the southern side of the map. This is easily accessed from the Cerulean coast from this grace right here. You just need to sort of follow along the coast here, go along the actual beach, and then you can come up into the actual runes themselves. Head directly to the center platform once you're in the runes there, where all of the fingers are pointing, and then with the quest item that you received, you can now interact with the middle finger. Flip that bird and you'll receive this talisman right on the spot. Fourth then today is beloved Stardust, and this thing is absolutely crazy if you use it right. What it does then is set your casting speed to absolute maximum. For those who don't know, casting speed in Elden Ring is defined by your dexterity stat, rather than your normal casting stats, and this lets you literally cast your spells faster. The talisman itself essentially puts your dexterity stat to 99, but only for the purpose of cast speed. It doesn't technically increase your actual dexterity number, but it specifically affects the cast speed part of it by making it treat you as if you had 99 dexterity. In return, there is of course a negative, as that is super strong as a bonus, and the negative is around 25% bonus damage taken. That is of course a pretty hefty amount, but if you are playing a more range style spell build, sorcery or incantation based, your goal is already to be hit by as little as possible, and so 25% increased damage against you for literally maximum cast speed starts to sound like a very reasonable trade to actually make, especially as you hit higher scadutree blessing levels later in the expansion and get higher damage negation just sort of by default. As far as actually getting this one then, if you did the last entry, you already actually did 90% of the work, because after you've blown the first finger in the first runes, this is the reward for just going and talking to Ymir in the Cathedral of Manus Mater once again. It's very simple. Fifth and finally then today we have the Aged One's Exaltation Talisman, and this is both responsible for a ridiculous amount of power, and it is extremely interesting how you get it too. What this is then is essentially the madness equivalent of the other Exaltation Talismans in the game. 20% bonus to all damage that you deal for 20 seconds after a madness proc happens, either to you or to anyone nearby you. The thing is, this creates a sort of new meta, because this can be applied to any build that has enough faith, as Howl of Shibiri is an incantation from the base game that requires 33 faith, and it applies madness to the caster, and it boosts your damage by 25% for 40 seconds, of course at the cost of also making you take 30% more damage while it's active, but then you can pair that even further with the Black Dumpling Helmet from the base game as well, that boosts all damage you do by 10% for 60 seconds after a madness occurs nearby. Then if you don't have 33 faith, at 16 faith you can actually still use Flame of Frenzy to trigger self-madness before a boss fight and activate the helmet and talisman anyways. That said, this is becoming a new sort of meta for boosting all damage, because you can apply this to pretty much any build style. You can even do this with sorceries if you want, as Howl of Shibiri is easier to carry in a lot of builds that already have faith than a seppuku bleed weapon is, and it is also a damage boost of its own, so you get the 25% from Howl of Shibiri, the 20% from the talisman, and the 10% from the helmet, all working together in tandem from easy self-procs, which is just sort of nutty as a whole for buffing yourself up before you go into a boss fight. To actually get this one then, you need to kill what would normally be an untouchable enemy. The specific location is down in the Abyssal Woods region. Again, we have a video on how to get to the different regions of the map if you have not been down here yet yourself, but we'll be going from the abandoned church to the first of the very weird, creepy eyeball guys that seem invincible. I'll let the path play out to get to him though, and then I'll explain what to do once we're there. These guys will relentlessly just do one main attack after they've seen and noticed you, which is a grab that pretty much kills you. If, however, you parry the grab, because it is actually a parryable attack, you make them essentially just become corporeal for just a brief moment, which lets you damage them, and this specific one right here, the first one that you will encounter along the main path, drops you a talisman for killing him as a sort of reward for working out the little puzzle there. That just about does it for today then, everyone. Just a nice little collection of 5 extremely powerful talismans, arguably just the 5 best of these in the whole DLC, and I hope you get good use out of these yourself once you've actually gone out to collect them, because they're all just exceptionally good in their own right. Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.